Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler and Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, I'm just going to bring up a subject I believe that it just really kind of gets me going. And the subject is choices. You see, everything in our life is built on choices. So in the next little while, we're going to be really looking into that in more depth. But before we do, I need to always remind you that all the information on this program is gathered from many different places and many different people. So if you hear yourself in the conversation, please remember, it is not all about you. Now, the reason choices came up so much in this leadership section was because, quite frankly, I was told by a young person, Dick, I don't have any choices. Now, what disturbed me so much about it is they were talking about where they went to church on Sunday, on Wednesday, and other times during the week. They said that all their choices had been removed and really moved down so there was no choice. The only choice they had was to listen to the leader, and he was the only one allowed to speak. So I said to them, well, you do have a choice. You can leave. You can seek out some other place to worship. You can seek out some other place to gather knowledge. You can really do those things. You do have a choice. And by not making a choice, you have made a choice. Well, it got a little stickier than that. And so when we really started to peel back the different pieces, I found that this young man felt that he basically had no choice in his life anywhere. He had a job that, in his words, was good enough, and it provided just enough. Those two words, good enough and just enough, seem to come up an awful lot when I'm out and about speaking to people around the country. Good enough. You see, we have a choice to do our best, to be as excellent as possible in everything we do. The biggest thing I learned as a young Cub Scout was do your best. And it was explained to me way back then that I was to do my best, not somebody next to me, and not try to judge myself by what someone else did, but to always do my best and always bring it to the pinnacle that I could. I found that the choice I had to make there was to always have ongoing continuous learning. I had to always put forth, I had to always take action. You see, that's one of the things that I made a choice to do. Now, just good enough? Well, I guess I just don't believe in that. I believe just good enough is just one rung over, not done well. You see, when you're not doing your best, you're sending a message to all those around you that you don't care. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be really blunt about it. And as an employer, just doing your best, good enough. Well, that's good enough. I heard this the whole time I worked at a large organization. Well, it's good enough for government work, which meant you didn't have to really do to the excellence of your best. You just had to get it done. It started really grate on me. The next thing that really started to really grate was, just enough. Now, hey, I'm not a big guy, and money doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. Money to me is a tool to either help myself, my family, or those around me. Money is a tool. It's not anything other than that. It's like the shovel I dig holes with, as far as I'm concerned. But just enough means that I'm only going to put forth just enough to get just enough to live on the margin. You see, you can't help other people when you've got just enough. You can't even help yourself put away for the future. Choices. That's the choice you made. Many years ago, when I had to make a choice, did I want to stay on the dead-end street that entered into the swamp, or did I want to get out of that location and do something different with my life? I made a choice. Now, choices don't all come easy. I had to make a choice to leave people behind. Find a new circle of excellence to be around. That left me in a quandary. It meant, really, I'm serious, leaving some people behind that I loved. But I knew that just enough was never going to be good enough for me. As I sought out on that world, and I met a young lady and we got married, the people that we were with at that organization were just enough, good enough people. And so we found ourselves, well, we made choices not to hang around them, not to go to their parties, not to be associated with them, and we had to look other places for that camaraderie and friendship. The people I worked with, quite frankly, they didn't understand that. Most of them, after work, they went to those places where they serve cold drinks and spent money that they didn't have until they could earn enough money to spend more money they didn't have. And those are the choices they made. They made choices to take and spend money on those cars so they could run up and down the main strip there in the town and show everybody their fancy cars and wheels and all that happy horse manure. But those were choices they made. When we made a decision that when we looked at finances and everything else, that it was a good and better and our decision to have Miss Robbins stay home and raise our children. And by the way, other people's children. It was a great decision. We probably would have more money now that we're in our later years if we would have had two incomes. But we felt it was more important to be with our children. Be a Cub Master, Scout Master, church youth group leader, whatever it has to be. Robin, boy, she put in hours at the school volunteering, helping other people's children. She was that good Cub Scout mom and Girl Scout mom and down at the church. And she still spends a lot of her time there, giving back to others. You see, those were choices that we made. And when we were young, I'm going to have to tell you that our parents didn't understand our choices because it wasn't their choices. And that's what I'm getting at. When you tell me that you have no choice, you just made one. Now, I'm not saying everyone's going to be easy. If you think it was easy for me to leave all behind I knew and strike out on my own and do something different, it wasn't. And if you thought it was easy that I was going to have to work 2 or 3 jobs sometimes in order to take care of my family, or work a lot of overtime because that's what needed to be done so we could go on those vacations or go to the schooling that we wanted to do, that was part of the choices we made. I talked to my grandfather one time about choices. I remember when I was young, and he was a gentleman who had gotten a job working on the railroad, and he was a carpenter. He designed custom train cars for those folks who were very wealthy and could afford those things. And he was a craftsman beyond compare. He could make the most beautiful things out of any piece of wood that he was handed. He said the choice he made, though, was to provide for his family in the things that he knew how to do and brought him joy. Working with wood, he said, was a way to really bring something out of nothing, but it brought him joy. He said the choice he made, though, sometimes caused some problems because they didn't have the money to do certain things that the other folks were doing. But the choice he made also gave them opportunities that other people didn't have, like free train rides for the whole family. And that's how we got from Ohio to Florida. What I'm trying to really put across to you is, no matter what you're thinking about, whether it's at your church home, whether it's at the place of work where you're at now, it's in your own home with your spouse, your significant other, your children, we make choices every single day. And those choices, by golly, are what makes us, breaks us, sets us apart, and leaves your legacy. Now, I need to turn over here for just a second and grab something, because I wrote some things down this morning, and I want to take and share them with you. The reason I want to do that is they're about choices. And one of the things is, you can make a choice, quite frankly, that your mistakes become learning tools. It's a choice. You can either dwell on all the things that didn't happen, should have happened, could have happened, or you can take that information and put it into some learning opportunities and move forward. It's a choice. It's a choice to look at everything as an adventure. Now, some mornings just getting out of bed for myself is an adventure. Get these old knees and ankles working so I can stand up. But you know, everything is an adventure. And if you look at that, every day is a brand new one. It's a choice that you make. Again, my grandfather raised me, and he told me, quite frankly, you get to choose every single morning when your feet hit the floor, whether it's going to be a good day or not. Your choice. And choices really make the person. You have a choice to really discover, I mean really discover, what motivates and drives you. If you haven't ever taken the time to really sit down and figure out what it is that, I'm going to say lights your fire, but what it is that really brings you joy, like my grandfather building things out of wood. What is it really brings you joy? And can you really look at it from, how can I use this to be monetarily successful? You see, that's what he was trying to teach me way back then. And I have to tell you that it's stuck. The entrepreneurial spirit is a choice. You can either lead or you can be one of the herd. And he would tell me that quite often also. You have a choice to build your sphere of influence. What do I mean by that? It's who you hang around. It's who you choose to be with. Your sphere of influence sometimes is a book you read. For me, growing up on a dead-end street, my sphere of influence oftentimes came from reading a book and thinking about those people who came before me. And how was I going to motivate myself to get there? And once I did, where was I going to find the people who were going to be quicker, faster, smarter than I was to have in my circle of influence? I found, quite frankly, that I fit in mostly with people who were older than I was. And that was a good trait, by the way. If you're a young person out there listening to this Leadership Corner, think about the folks who are a little bit older than you are. They've been there, done that, probably have several of the t-shirts. And if you take time to build that relationship, you might be surprised on where it can help you go. Now you have a choice. You can either sit back and watch the world go by, or you can dream big, be bold, and take action. One of the things about having a choice is this thing of dreaming big. I remember when I was a little bit younger, there was a gentleman who tried to say that he could rob me of all my dreams. I was going to do exactly what I was told, sit down, be quiet, and enjoy the show. I never could grasp a hold of what that meant. Because if I went outside and I saw a tree growing, I could say, dream big. If I took a canoe out on the water, dream big. A sailboat to watch the sails fill up, dream big. Start a new company, dream big. You see, all those things start to really happen, doesn't it? But you need to do something that goes with it. Dream big, be bold. You know, be bold means take the chance. Take the risk. Now, make it a calculated risk, will you please? But you know what? If you never take the risk, you're never going to get the reward. Taking the risk means I have to take action on my big dream. I have to actually do something. And I have to put it to work. If I think I can dream big and just sit and watch and maybe something will happen, it will not. My grandfather, I won't tell the story, but he always had a story about things you can do in one hand and do it in the other hand and see which one filled up first. The thing is without action, it just doesn't happen. And dreams are good, believe me. But if there's no action with it, they're just dreams. Think about that one just a little bit. You have a choice. You have a choice to lay out your future. You have a choice to lay it out in a way that you can do something every single day that will help you get to where you want to go. Many times you've probably heard me speak about the vision, your future picture, and what it is and how it happens. That future picture, I love to have you paint it in words that you're going to be able to describe exactly what it's going to look like, where you're going to be, what you're going to be doing, how much money you're going to be having, all the parts and pieces to it. Stick it on the map. Make sure you make an X. You know exactly where you're headed. Know what your passion is. Know what your mission is. Why are you called on this earth? What are you supposed to be doing? But then here's that action part again. The strategy, the plan. You have to put the plan in place. You see, what little action are you going to take every single day to see your vision come true? If you think you can just sit back and watch it and it's come true all by itself, well, you know what? It won't. Think about that just a little bit. What I'm going to encourage you to do, though, is get out your compass. By that I mean know what your values are. Know exactly what your morals are, what you stand for. And that really is going to be a big part. But you have a choice in the matter. Okay. You have a choice to understand the triggers that either hold you back or push you forward. The triggers that hold you back could be that I'm not good enough. I don't have the right education. I don't have enough money. And those things that hold you back come from the land of as soon as. You know, as soon as I have enough money, as soon as I have the right marriage, as soon as I have the right car, as soon as I have it's always as soon as, but there's no action items on the as soon as world, so you're just sitting there watching the world go by. But here's the ticket. If you know what your triggers are, because there will be triggers. There'll be something someone says to you that drives you backwards, but you're going to have in your arsenal something that you say to yourself that drives you forwards. Or be able to go to that circle of influence, folks, and just lay it out. Boy, I'm down. I don't know how to get back up. I know with the circle of influence, they'll help you do so. And that's why that becomes so important. My grandfather always said that pain is temporary, but achievements are what builds memories. Now, what he meant by that is that the pain of disappointment or something that didn't go quite right will go away soon. You can push it behind you. You can go ahead. If you use it as a learning tool, you'd be surprised how it can be almost a stepping stone. But what he's trying to tell us is our mind, when our mind sees success and when our mind sees the celebration goes with it, it wants to make it happen again because it likes that feeling. And it locks it in to help us do it again and again. Oh, man. You see, those daily actions I was talking about, they become important. And you have a choice. Procrastination is probably the worst thing that all of us have. And all of us do that. Don't you even think that we don't. There's not a person alive that doesn't procrastinate from time to time, that doesn't quite understand where they should be, could be, ought to be, or what they should be doing. Or they might be doing things just to stay busy instead of productive, just because they don't want to tackle those hard things. Now, one of the choices you must make is your choices of your non-negotiables. What are the things that you will absolutely, positively not do? And you're not going to hang around the folks that do them. You're not going to even be in the same area where this is happening. And if it does, you're going to find a way to remove yourself as quick as you can. Your non-negotiables go farther than thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Covet my neighbor's wife. It really goes deeper than that. And only you can have those. And only you can make that up in your own mind. And only you. I'll tell you what, I wrote mine down. That's really what it came down to. I was working in a large organization and they wanted me to do some things that I found were just against my moral code. They were against my non-negotiables. And I had to make a choice. Do I stay and kind of fight this? Or do I remove myself totally? In the beginning, I stayed and fought against it and won. In the end, though, I found myself saying, I need to go somewhere else where people have the same moral values and non-negotiables that I have in order to be happy and successful in both my home life and my work life. Choices. One of the things that I really has been on my mind a lot lately, the choice to live in fear. I went one Sunday morning and the gentleman who was speaking that morning spoke all on what he called hope. But what he really was talking about was how we should fear everything in our lives. Fear the person sitting next to you. Fear the person you're going to run out of money. Fear that you're going to get in a car wreck. Fear all these things that could possibly happen. And could they? Well, sure they could. Would they? Don't know. But I found myself oftentimes when I'm in a state of fear, I seek out those folks who are in my individual world, who I know will bring me back to center and say, well, what are you fearful of? And when we dig into it, we really find out the real meat of the situation. And we find it's not something to be fearful on at all. It's something we can work on. It's something we can actually motivate and change. But to live in fear, it's a choice. It's a choice. And I'm going to try to bring this up to the end here in the next few minutes, because this choice, I'm going to say, is probably one of the most important pieces. It's the choice to reinvent oneself. Ages and stages are a big part of normal life. And as we go through our ages and stages, we change. Our atmosphere changes. It does. The people who we're with changes. How we go and grow, the things we read, the things we hear, all those things will change us. Now, when I left corporate world, I have to tell you, I was not prepared. I thought I would work there until the end of the days and I would live happily ever after. But the company was sold and time to make it a change. Reinventing myself was it was scary. It was tough. But it was the most fun I'd had in years, because I got to look at myself from a different point of view, at the age and stage I was, and really decide what it is that made me happy, what it was, who and where I wanted to be, and what I wanted to do. I had been given this wonderful voice to be on TV and radio and help people. So the Leadership Wrangler was born. I have to tell you that this has been the most fun I've had in a long time. Now, I still enjoy going out to the wood shop and making things out of wood like my grandfather taught me. I still even enjoy making some things that are mechanical like my father taught me, who was a mechanic. I am very thankful that I've had the opportunity to do many different things in many different arenas, from on the 34th floor of a high-rise to the corporate office and the president's seat, down to the guy who was digging holes and climbing poles, and everything in between. Never in my wildest fantasies did I think that I would write a best-selling book, but I did. You see, this reinvention really wasn't a reinvention at all. It was a culmination of everything that I've done. It was bringing it all together and then putting together for a purpose, with a plan. And there you go. You see, I had a choice to make. If you're out there, leaders, and you come across someone who tells you they don't have a choice, please sit them down and spend some time. Build the bridge between you and them. Build that relationship. Let them know that there is an opportunity sitting there waiting for them that they have to take action on. The ongoing continuous learning process will always prepare you for that opportunity. Again, it takes action. That's the attraction. That's what moves you forward. And that's really the whole piece. So when this young man came to me and he said, Dick, I've just got no choices. They've removed all my choices from me. I said, first of all, who are they? Second of all, you've got a choice. You want to get involved and make a change? Do you want to take a walk away? Either one's a choice. You want to stay and just live with it? That's a choice. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. Here at the Leadership Corner, I want to say on behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and the whole Leadership Corner team who helped me put this together every time, I want to say thank you to you, the listener, for tuning in. Now, my hope is that you've received a nugget of wisdom and guidance that will help you make you a better leader, because that's why I do this. Now, if you have any questions or concerns from today's program, please don't hesitate. Give me a phone call, 727-422-1833. Send me an email, dick@ewfw.org. Go to the website, spend some time. There's a place to send me a message there. Go to www.ewfw.org. Find a way to connect. Now, I'm going to make you an offer. When you know that your organization really needs the Leadership Wrangler to come and help guide you through some communication and relationship building, leadership opportunities, make sure you give us a call. 727-422-1833. Send me an email, dick@ewfw.org. But hey, don't wait. We book up quite quickly over the year. Quite frankly, we're starting to book for next year, and you need to get in there. Well, I see our time has come to a close. So until next time, D.W. Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.